discussion on that. But, and if you're gonna do the hospital first, Mike, that's fine, but I thought we had started in on the budget. So my thinking is, let's go ahead and go into the budget, take care of that, and then into PILT allocations.
I would prefer that we went into the budget and take our infills for these other budgets that we took money from last year, fill that with PILT, and then when we get done with all that, we'll see what we have left with PILT, and then we can go on to what we're gonna do with what remains of PILT, if there are any remains of PILT.
We don't have an exact from PILT. Debbie did run an estimate, and that was in an email that you sent, I believe. But part of that plan last year was to use extra mills. So those extra mills that we have, we'll fill in first, and then the rest from PILT.
Okay.
And it's about 9,400 total, is that right, Debbie? Or 94,000?
92,327.34 to be exact.
All right. And that's without the mills, so that will reduce a little bit.
Okay,
But we do have the money in PILT to go ahead and take care of that.
okay, Brandon, do you have something?
Well, I don't know if I missed, how we missed this last year. I don't know the more I learned about these budgets, but the paperwork I show that we were 311,000 short on revenue starting the year last year. I don't know if that's correct or a mistake on Excel, but it seems to me correct. I guess I don't know where, if we're freezing expensive, my expenses I actually lowered this year, which I'm not really concerned about. I'm concerned about the revenue and why we were so short last year, and that's obviously the increase that you guys seen on our budget that we, the last one we sent in after, we had a few mistakes on some wages and things that I wasn't adding right, but I'm wondering, am I just supposed to go off of what we present? Because if we go off of that and we don't get any infilling, the public safety doesn't operate. That's why I would hold my request to see, so you guys can see what the effects are to your community in public safety before we just make decisions at a table. I think it clearly seems your mind is made up, but I request another meeting so you know what the effects are. I would assume that every department head would like you guys to know the effects. It seems to me there's going to be some terrible things that are going to happen with your public safety. But that's pretty much all I have to say is I would like a chance to go back to our drawing board and try to figure out what that gap is again and how are we going to make up that money.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
my understanding the discussion right now is on taking care of expenditures, not revenue. Let's keep it on one subject,
But you-
please.
You have to
divorce
have
them.
your revenue
You can't
before you
divorce
have
them.
expenditures. You can't
I
have separate conversations.
Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
speaking to
Chairman,
the
may I
chair.
answer him?
Yes.
I understand that, but right now we are dealing with expenditures. You can't mix them up, you gotta take one at a time.
And you should probably have a revenue discussion before expenditures. You can't talk about expenditures and revenue separately. Yeah.
Did you have something, Corey?
Well, I have a lot of stuff, no matter what I'm gonna say. I mean, the concern here is, has anyone else seen this valuation? I mean, how much does this put us in the hole? What's the number? When did this come in?
Friday afternoon.
5:32.
Okay, so are there copies of this that can be distributed to the public?
Absolutely, but we don't have them with us. The thing is, and anyone's welcome to them, it's, this is just like the tools Debbie uses to put together the budget. There's nothing nefarious, there's nothing hidden here. What they show, if they are, is just a tool for us to know what our values are. We have the high school district, and then we have the elementary school district, another one because of Three Forks, ambulance fund. Yeah, you guys are welcome to see these, there's nothing hidden in them, it's just a tool. So I'll just put them up here for everybody to look at. Department of Revenue essentially said there's no more money Broadwater County. So we can either sit here and negotiate that, but we're negotiating with a zero. We don't have any more money. So if we wanna be nice guys and give everybody what they want, we're gonna have to have somebody come forward and say, how are they gonna pay for it? Because the Department of Revenue didn't see that Broadwater County grew last year. So this is what happens in counties when there's no growth. Is you sit down and you look at your budget and you say, okay, we have no more money to spend. It is what it is. This is where cash reserves are so important, keeping those up, not spending them. So we can't keep kicking this can down the road. We have got to make some decisions, we've gotta make some hard decisions. I thought it would be simple to just take the easy ones off the table and get them done. But, however you guys wanna do it is fine with me. If you wanna just tackle one to start with, we can do that and work down the line. But if we don't get this done, Debbie is not going to be able to get her work done, and we are going to be out of compliance with the Local Government Budgeting Act.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Would a simplified thing for everybody if both expenditure and income budgets were just frozen right at this moment?
That's kind of where I was going with the bigger ones, yeah.
I would think that that's where you end up at, but the thing like Brandon says, they're still $315,000 short. We're,
And I believe those are cash reserves, is that, can you answer that, Debbie? Do you know what he's referring to?
If he said we didn't get all the revenue, I need to look at that to see why and where, what revenue we didn't get. So yes, if they didn't get what they budgeted to get, they did tap into reserves to support themselves. But without knowing why he didn't get all his revenues, I'd be guessing.
I'll try to show you that.
Mr. Chairman.
Because last I knew, when we looked at your face, I think we had all our taxes from that close to 100% this year. And he's been sending out delinquent tax notices, so.
This is our total revenue that we were expected to receive last year. This is
Can
kind
I
of.
add a comment?
Yeah.
Let's,
Here's,
can we let them finish so
Oh.
that we can have an
I
answer
didn't
to
think
that
they were, I
question
thought they were
first?
just doing a side conversation.
Yeah, that we're trying to fit. Then you go over here. Just. So this was our total expenditures. This is our revenue, that was our gap. When we started last year, it seems that it wasn't balanced. So.
Mr. Chairman?
so when they get done doing,
That's what I'm. Here's the differences, obviously. We made some cuts, which I'm fine with, but. Yeah, increased more than we've ever had,
Mhm.
so we're still short.
Yeah, 20,000 here, 20,000 there. Just, a little bit everything. A little bit everything, combination of everything. Unrealized revenues here and there. Our contract. Lack of revenue fees, inmate boarding. Come up with that total. It's a little bit everything. Short. So it did take into wiped out the reserves that they had in for last year.
Corey?
Well, I guess here's my concern. You guys apparently got this Friday afternoon. I haven't seen this, I don't know how many people have seen this. It's not clear to me how much of a revenue hole we're talking about here. But, so between Friday afternoon and now Monday morning, there's a bit of a plan. My thought is that if you share this information with department heads, that given even a couple of days, they're gonna get back to you with a better plan of how they can make adjustments if in fact this is what we have to do. If it is, then the world's gonna keep on turning. We'll be okay if we have to freeze the budget for a year. But it could be that there's other creative ideas out there as far as savings, as far as moving things around. There might be someone that's retiring and they're just not gonna fill that position for a year. There might be other ways out there, but as a team, collectively, we should have the opportunity to work through that and bring that back to you, and then work all of us together to do it. Right now, it seems to be kind of a crisis mode, and I don't think this is as good a decision as you're gonna have in 48 hours or in 7 days. In addition, it could be that we can talk to the Department of Revenue and find out where their error is. Concern I have at this point is what we have is a budget that doesn't really freeze. It's still doing a lot of making people whole, whatever that means. But there's specifically some people that are not having any input on this that are being frozen. My budget, which is pretty small and simple, I can already think of a couple complicated or at least unanswered questions as a result of if you vote on this now. And I guarantee for some of these other departments that are larger and more complicated, a lot more people and moving pieces, there will be a lot of unanswered questions. This vote's not gonna really do anything to clarify that. It's only gonna basically add to some confusion. So you don't have to vote today, this moment, to freeze. I think the warning and the expression of gravity that you've given is pretty sufficient. And give us a deadline, give us 2 days, or give us however many, 4 days to come back with a suggestion of how we can do things. And then that gives us a little time to engage with the Department of Revenue and find out what happened here. I also think we need to share this information. I mean, we're all flying blind right now because we don't have whatever you guys have.
So if we give these, how much time do you have to get all your stuff ready by the 20th? You're pushing it right now.
Every day. I need the whole time. Plugging these numbers, rerunning reports, changing everything, making sure there's no mistakes. To come up with accurate numbers, it takes every bit of that 20 days. Possibly more if things don't go quite right, then we have to start over.
This process, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what we've done. Oh yeah, and we've been tweaking it every year to try and make it better and better, so there's always tweaking that can be done. But our job, prior to getting the valuations, is to have a foundation for Debbie, so that she can get everything plugged in, check for errors, and have time to look it over. That's why we go through guesstimating based on what we think values will be, letting department heads know this is the parameters you're working within, sending back budgets because they aren't balanced, telling people you have to live within your means. So we can continue to postpone, we can spend all day Wednesday just talking to one department after the next and with each one voting on their department as we go. That's fine. The problem is, we are setting up our accounting office, our finance officer for failure by not giving her the time that she needs. We're already 2 weeks behind. Last week, we were gonna take care of this, that got pushed off. Now this week, if we keep kicking this can down the road, we are not gonna get done. It's fine if you wanna meet with the department heads, but the thing is department heads who need more tax money are going to have to find an alternative this year because Department of Revenue at this point hasn't given it to us. Both times they did a revaluation, those came in October, and I think Doug's not here, Doug is here. Weren't they both after you had already run the taxes that you had to go ahead and reverse that and get it going? So if they're gonna go through their process and do and those were not at our request, that was driven by Department of Revenue. Chances are they're not gonna have anything for us this week. That means we cannot just postpone because we don't like what we got from Department of Revenue, which we don't. We still have to give Debbie something to work with.
Al?
So, since the county is in crisis now, the budgeting plan policy, so if you go past to where, I think the way maybe Corey was, he may have a point, of communications between the departments, because issues are now coming up that last week evidently were not considered. And so, in different departments, because this came out Friday afternoon late. So, if you go say, I'll just say 5 days past the deadline or whatever it is with the state, is that, how big of a crisis is that? To have your budget figured out.
They start fining us if we're past the deadline.
So if but if it's in their error, they still finding, so you get your money back, but, okay.
No, you don't get your money back.
No, we
don't
pay
get
the
fines
state.
back.
Yeah,
Even if it's their error?
absolutely. Yeah.
It's a golden rule.
It is, and that's money that we could have used for services here in county that'll go to the state. So it doesn't benefit us at all to thwart the law. It doesn't. Brett, just to bring you up to speed, we got our valuations from Department of Revenue and they essentially said that Broadwater County is in decline, that there's no growth here. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you heard that. I didn't know that when we met. So, we're not in crisis. We actually have information now, and that is what we're trying to do is just freeze at last year's numbers since we are stagnant. So you get no more money, you keep your spending at no more spending. So that's what we're arguing about.
Tim?
Mr. Chairman, just a real quick question. It was just stated that we're right now at least a couple of weeks behind on finalizing the budget for 2019 fiscal year. Is that based on the fact that the Department of Revenue is so slow getting their evaluations out? Is it a combination of multiple different things? You know, I guess that's one of the things that we kind of wonder if payday comes and the checkbook isn't balanced, you know, we gotta figure out why we didn't get it done, and so that's just a question.
Well, I think we're 2 weeks behind because we set deadlines that were, so that we could get done in time to have everything done, but we have departments that we haven't got their budget finalized. And then everything that we figured is figured on with some growth that the Department of Revenue says we didn't get. And we're not gonna get it until we get it straightened out with them. So, and we can't sit here and pass a budget that's based on that growth, and then they come back, or they don't do anything until next January or something, and say, well, you know, you're not getting it. So now we've got, not only have we overspent the first 6 months, but we got 6 more months that we've already over budgeted for. And we don't have have the money to recover from that.
Thank you, and that was why the earlier question, as far as how long can we really feasibly hope to wait for a clear answer on putting everything together with deadlines in mind.
Here's what I don't understand. I'm looking at 7-6-4003 Montana Code, and it says, a local government shall submit a complete copy of the final budget together with statement of tax levies to the Department of Administration by the later of October 1st or 60 days after receipt of taxable values from the Department of Revenue. I don't understand why August 20th is our deadline. I've wondered that wasn't what we did last year or the year before.
Your memo that we sent in April and May actually has that in it. Debbie, can you address that? Do you know it off the top of your head? I have your memo. That's not the only date. There's another statute in there that's,
We have to have stuff to Department of Revenue within 30 days, because then they take, by the time they put it in their system for Doug to roll it on the tax rolls, is another 30 days. So we really don't have that full 60 days, that's to get it on the tax roll. That's not to get it to Department of Revenue for Doug to do his part. There's a two step, so we have 30 days ourselves, then we have to give it to Department of Revenue.
So is
So
that,
we don't have it in 30 days, and we aim for short, because that way any unseen things, we've got time to make adjustments, but without that time, we're already pushing it. We wait till the last minute, as we've happened to have in past years, that's when mistakes happen. Doug, we don't get something to Doug, to Department of Revenue, and something's left off the tax bill, and then we've got irate taxpayers.
okay, so where's Doug? Doug's here. What is the deadline that you have to submit things for taxation?
It takes me usually a week to a week and a half to get that information in the system. The taxes go out November 1st, end of October.
So what's your deadline?
It would be nice to have it at least by August 15th so I can input it in the system.
Well, what's the deadline? Is it nice to have, or is that the day you need? Because even if it's August 15th, that's not gonna meet the August 20th date that we just heard a minute ago.
No, that's just when I needed to put it in the system. I don't have the code in front of me to tell me what the exact,
Is it in Title 15? Do I need to look in Title 15?
pardon me,
Do I need to look in Title 15?
that would probably tell us what their deadline is.
look, this talk about, let's push this out, let's push this out. We actually should have had this done at least a week ago, if not 2 weeks ago. Then what you do is you get your actual valuations and you either increase your revenue and let folks know, hey, you've got a little bit more to spend. Or you decrease your revenue and say, okay, you're gonna have to tighten your belts just a little bit more. That's how this process is done. We haven't got the step done of having everything balanced yet. We've been kicking the can down the road. We have got to get a foundation. We're not involving the department heads. This is our job of putting together how much everybody has to work with based on what Department of Revenue gave us. And it's all here in the Local Government Budgeting Act. We have included department heads to an extreme, and I'm proud that we have. But now that we have valuations, our time clock is ticking, and we've got work to do, serious work to do to get this done so that we can get done by the deadline. Debbie and Doug have their stuff they need to get done. They're waiting on us.
The deadline from the statute, from the Local Governing Budget Act, that I just read to you, says October 1st or 60 days after evaluations.
No, it is not.
That's what
for-
I just read to you.
There's two of them. We used to go by that.
Where's the other
And it
one?
was an error. I don't have it in front of me yet. I'm still looking for it. I don't have it memorized. If we need to, you know what, maybe we need to have Eric Bryson come down and walk us through budgeting, because this is ridiculous. This is our job. And you're stopping us from doing it, and I don't understand why. We've got an emergency, but we can't let that keep us from doing our job. Our job is the local balancing the budget. And it says in statute that that is the job of the county commissioners. We need to actually deal with this issue that we have right now so that we can go ahead and start getting this worked through.
My recommendation, and you say it's ridiculous, here's what's ridiculous. We just spent 3 months as department heads working in detail with you. We all had a plan to be ahead of schedule, we were. We've all had a broad plan of how to save the savings that you asked for. We've all had a plan of how we're gonna, what we thought was bring a coordinated effort to put our budget on good legs. Then suddenly, Friday afternoon, you get a valuation, none of us have seen it. Monday morning, you have a plan to fund a whole bunch of various people, but to freeze public safety and to freeze general fund without enough details for us to know what's going on. You're telling us the deadline's August 20th. Well, I just read you a deadline from the Local Budget Government Act, which you say is what we're going off of, which we should be, and it says October 1, or 60 days after the evaluation we got Friday afternoon. So what I think is ridiculous is that until we see that there actually is a reason to push the panic button and adopt this today, that we hold off and that we regroup and we go through this in great detail. Nobody can tell me where is the hard deadline that says we have to adopt this today, and you refuse to answer the question as to what you're gonna do with the hospital district. That's fine, they need money, but are you gonna freeze the sheriff's office and then in 20 minutes vote to give $300,000 to the hospital district? If you are, I think that's something that should be addressed right now. I think the smarter thing to do here is, as a team, work through this, including going back to the Department of Revenue, find out why their evaluations are in error, and then nail down what is the exact deadline that we need. It's obviously, clearly, the one for submission of the budget is not August 20th. And the other thing you should do is confirm your revenue before you confirm your expenditures, as the undersheriff has suggested. So, the fact that I'm trying to ask you to follow the process we agreed on, and what the statute says, doesn't make me ridiculous. It makes me trying to keep us from making an unforced error that we're gonna have to unwind.
Thank you.
Okay, the MCA is 1510-305, subsection 1A. And that states the mill levies provided must be provided to the Department of Revenue the second Monday in September or within 30 days of getting the certified taxable value.
Okay, that's not August 20th.
No, but like Debbie said, Corey, look at how long it has taken us just to discuss what's been going on here. Nobody's in panic mode, but what we have to do is actually get our job done so that we can get things going. The reason that we tried to do it a week before, the reason it was part of the motion 2 months ago, is so that we have an extra week in case we find an error, in case something is missing, in case there's a surprise. It is wise and prudent to have a little bit of a cushion. It gives us 1 extra week.
It is wise and prudent. What's not wise and prudent is you asking the commission to make the decisions today that you're asking them to make. It's throwing all that work out the window.
No, it isn't, Corey.
September 10th is the deadline.
Or 30 days after. No, that isn't the deadline. 30 days from last Friday would be September 3rd, unless there just 30 days in August?
31.
Okay, then it's September 2nd, right? So, if you want to postpone this another 2 days, that's fine. And then go through it department by department. I can ask Eric if he's available to come down here. But this is gonna be tough, and we're gonna have a fight every step of the way, and postponing this week to week to week until we get to October is not gonna serve this county. These are gonna be tough decisions. This is not a deal breaker with the budget, but if you wanna wait, that's fine.
John?
My name's John Wright. Laura, have you ever run a corporate business?
I ran a business, yes. I was
A
also in
corporate
management for
business.
Alaska Airlines, which is a corporation, yes.
Okay, was it related to in a business like we have here in the county?
Not,
Because
you cannot compare corporations with local government. They are totally separate, totally different accounting structures. They are two different monsters.
But it's a manner of running a company or corporation or with a balanced thing. You don't start at the end when you got 2 weeks. You start at the very first day and you balance your thing as you go. And you just told and explained it to me, absolutely, you have not done that. Now you're at the last time of the term. Now it's a crisis. And that's how you have run this business for a long, long time. And I've had a conflict with you since I've been here. How can we get this possibly straightened up right now?
Now,
So how much money are we short?
excuse me?
How much are we short of, money for the county? With the new evaluation?
Well, if we freeze it where we're at last year, it wouldn't be short. We know we've got that much,
Oh.
other than public
Okay.
safety.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Tim?
Mr. Chairman,
let me
in the
hang on,
interest
hang
of
on, hang on,
transparency.
let me go. Can I- So Title 15, dealing with the, Title 15-10-305, dealing with the deadline for the taxable values. So, shall by the second Monday in September or within 30 calendar days after receiving certified taxable values. So it doesn't say which is later, so I'm looking for some legal authority on that. But it doesn't say whichever is later or whichever is sooner, like ordinarily would. Shall notify the Department of Revenue of the number of mills needed to be levied for each taxing jurisdiction, etc., right? And then it says the Department of Revenue shall complete the computation of the amount of taxes, fees, and assessments and notify the county clerk and recorder and the county treasurer by the second Monday in October. So the reason for that deadline is so that by the second Monday in October, they can provide that information back to the county. If the county clerk and recorder fails to timely notify the department of that requirement, the department must have additional time to meet the notification requirements back to the county equal to the number of days that it was received late by the department. So if we miss that deadline by 1 or 2 days, then they have 1 or 2 days extra to send us back the requirement. But again, we're talking second Monday of October, so that's what that's all about. And I'm not suggesting we kick the can down the road. What I'm suggesting is we have accurate information on when this decision has to be made.
And I can tell you from experience, it's 30 days. They're pounding at my door, on my phone, and my email, where are your valuations? So it's 30 days.
I got it. But if
So
they're
I don't
committed,
have a way to kick the can down, that's up to them.
I got it. If they're, I'm not talking about the budget, I'm talking about the valuations. But either way, if they're making serious errors, we need to have an opportunity to correct them. Sorry, Tim.
Dwayne?
Dwayne Hall. Is this, deal that we gotta do for the airport and all these other ones, refund their money, is that because we robbed Peter to pay Paul?
No. So, Mike, what if we started with the floating budgets and just informed the department heads of those budgets that the revenue is a flat line from last year, and informed them that their budgets need to conform with that? That should be easy for them. Those are pretty solid departments, and also, we should be able to have I don't even know that we need to go through this step, but we could have an email back that says, okay, in a day. So that would be the smaller departments, fair, airport, et cetera. And then schedule them, I'm going again, you know. If we have to negotiate our ability to comply with Department of Revenue, we are not gonna get the budget done. I don't know where to go from here, Mike.
So I think what you do is you just freeze it across the board, everything's froze, period. Nothing goes anywhere until the Department of Revenue gets it figured out.
It was balanced last year, those numbers. It can be balanced this year at those numbers.
I just have a couple of questions, comments, I'm not sure what I'd call them. This year, and I'm not sure which departments were asked to do it and which ones weren't, but I was asked to cut my budget by 10% and then another 2%. If we freeze them to last year, that would mean I would have 12% more in the budget that I was planning on for this year, which I wouldn't be totally unhappy with. If we freeze the budgets, what we're saying is you will stick to what you did last year. The only ones that can't comply are the ones that didn't comply last year, am I right? If
Yeah.
you kept your budget last year, you should be fine this year, other than cost of living, which if we don't get, maybe the cost of living's not going up this year. But if we, most of the departments didn't have to cut that 10%, they would still have it in their budget. That would give us a little wiggle room to play with. And the only departments that this would affect would be the ones that couldn't keep their budget last year. I really, as a department head, don't have a problem with that. If I had to give my 10%, like I already have, to fix this budget, I could still do that. It's already been in my budget. So I really, the dates, to me, August 20th, September 1st, October 2nd. You know, you can set whatever date you want. When it comes down to it, if you don't give Debbie enough time to do her preliminary work to get that budget in, then we start getting fined. If we put the budget where it was last year and freeze it, then any department that kept their budget would be okay. And if the state changes our valuation before August 2nd, then we can make corrections wherever we need to. That's just my thought.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I agree with Doug, and I'm also, we've heard comment and comment and comment. It's your job to make this decision. Whether you do it today or whether you wait till Wednesday or Friday or next Monday, it's still your job to make that decision.
It was illegal for me to make
No, yeah, you can. You have an idea?
So I'll make a motion to freeze the budget at last year levels, all budgets.
Does that include COLA?
That
And zero?
includes COLA.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to freeze the budget at last year's level. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same, motion carries.
Debbie, let us know what you need from us.
Evaluations to start working on. I didn't get that email that,
Oh, you didn't? I forwarded it to you. Stack right here for you. Nobody else has taken them, so you can take those.
that's why I need to start making changes and giving real numbers.
And if you could, help with getting the mills, that would help us too. Thanks. And I think we should send a memo to our department heads, letting them know about the decision by revenue, letting them know what we have to do, and then also letting them know that we have formulated a plan to work with the OR and see if we can get a revaluation. And if it's okay, I'd be happy to send a,
Do we need to have something that says that if the Department of Revenue ever really gets it together, that we can readjust, we can adjust by the percentage of whatever they come back with, what we're supposed to have, that we need to get?
absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a few folks we'll need to work with, Julie, Nicole, Debbie, to get some facts, some numbers. And then also we'll wanna work with MBAC and MACO, who are already working on this on our behalf. And see if we can't have some strength in numbers with other counties.
Okay.
All right. I will, just kind of draft something and send it via email, get your approval on what to send to the department heads and let them know. Some of them just couldn't be here today due to workload.
So do we have this from postponed from August 1st, the only thing that we really need to do in there, since we've addressed the budget, is the hospital district, budget certification?
Yeah.
Did we need to vote on certifying that budget?
I think we already voted to certify the budget. We do have a request to fix the HVAC system and repair the roof of the county building. That would be the PILT allocations. And then the market adjustments, I'd like to just table that. I don't know that we can address that right now.
No, I don't think we.
Yeah. So I do not think that we can give from PILT the full $340,000 that was certified, even though we do have MCA to that effect. 7/26/21/32, which states that we shall fund to the certified amount for a hospital district. But I think that we can, as a compromise, address those issues with that building that will hurt the building and hurt our people if we don't. And one of the reasons for this, I'm gonna take you back in time to 2011. Some of you folks will remember this, but when the state came in and said, you guys have to close down your nursing home, I may have the numbers off, but we had 33 people living there. And I believe it was 1/3 that died with that transition. If we lose the air conditioning of that hospital, we would have to move those people again. And we could very well be looking at 1/3 of those dying with the transit. They are fragile at this point and not able to take big changes. So I think it is our responsibility we have bids, to allocate the money from PILT specifically to get that job fixed. The HVAC system for the air conditioning and fixing the roof. And Jenny, no offense, but I know it's leaking in your office.
Okay.
But my worry with the roof is, what other damage is being done, that if we can address it now and take care of it, I know 2 sections have been replaced, but if we can take care of it, we can keep any more damage from being done that just explodes the cost. So, in my mind, this is just smart. We do have extra money from PILT. That doesn't preclude us from doing anything else for the county, but we don't use PILT to balance budgets.
We were talking about freezing the budget, and also now you might give 300,000 for some maintenance.
No,
That should had been done. There's been hundreds of thousands of dollars, and apparently this maintenance hadn't been taken care of.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for accuracy here, and I know that these could change slightly, but we are talking about $137,000, it looks like. And that's the 50-ton unit and the roof repair. We have the money in PILT, in fact, that's almost the additional amount that we got this year that we didn't expect.
And I think that bid is this roofing bid is to replace all of the roof. I think we just replaced the roof in the air conditioning area. There's 2 other pieces there that we don't need, that we can do without doing, is there not? There's the wing on the south end that's not leaking. And then there's also a small area, there's another area over there by where the condenser unit's at. So we don't need to do the whole roof, we need to replace the piece that's leaking.
Right.
So that's gonna be less than the 65,000.
I have this 38. Is that, should we be looking at one of these
This is
instead?
the same one, but they said that they had problems, this guy, they have issues with what this, the thing is that they can get a grant to do whatever they have to do with that heating unit, and they can also get more competitive bids on this roof, so we know exactly what we're looking at, because this is not apples with apples.
Okay,
These roofing bids are not the same procedure, the same material. The push comes to shove, the 50-ton unit for the heating and air conditioning is absolutely what has to get done.
okay,
And if you do that, there's also, there's another $2,000 that would go on I'm only talking about doing the large unit, it would end up being $1,575. That would include putting a curb underneath that heater unit, and that would take $2,000 off of this roof bid or more, I believe. Because it was gonna be $10,000 to put the curb, and they already had $8,000 in here to put the roof under, so they're just gonna add $2,000 more to put that up on a platform, so whenever the condensing unit goes to hell, or the roof goes to hell, you don't have to pull the condensing unit to fix the roof. So it would just be build a curb, and that condensing unit would sit right on the curb, and they can get a grant engineering everything for that curb.
Is that the $1,575?
What's that?
Is that the $1,575
Yeah, yeah.
to do that?
No, it's gonna, there's a bid in here for X amount of square foot of roofing. It is included in this 50-ton unit price here, but for another 2,000, they'll put the platform under it and jack it up so you don't have to move the unit again to fix the roof. So this is gonna be $100,575, and that takes care of the 2K schooling unit. There's a small area roofing there that has to be replaced. But I would think that, and thing is that if this thing's not addressed right now, or at least in the process of address, it's gonna take us 12 weeks to get it, and by then people are gonna be gone. In 2 ways, they're gonna be gone. In view of freezing everything, I don't think that, I think that if we do this, we still go through the hospital district, but that's the only money that's going to. And you don't get it until we get the bid, and we're guaranteed what the price is. That's exactly what it's going for. That's my idea. And it's, like I said, it's only gonna be $100,000, and that's basically the extra that we got in built anyway. And it may be more. But if you don't do that, we're asking for big trouble.
I support that, gets the job taken care of.
Yes, Tim?
Mr. Chairman, Tim Ravendall, asked earlier on behalf of Broadwater Reporter here, as far as there's been some allegations of a conflict of interest. One of those allegations is that you're sitting on the board as a non-voting member, but you're sitting on the board of directors of the Townsend Health Systems operation. Do you have an explanation for that allegation of conflict of interest?
How is it a conflict of interest if I'm a non-voting member?
Well, it's tied
I'm there
together.
simply to bring information to the commission and to give them information.
History is, Mr. Chairman, is no other commissioners to our knowledge have ever been actual member of those boards. They've attended meetings to be a representative of the commission and to report back to the commission, but have never, to our knowledge, have ever been a part of the
And that's
board.
basically what my role is. I'm not a voting member, I'm not a member, I just go to the meetings as a representative of the commission.
Okay, thank you.
And I will add to that, we have an opinion from Mako, and we also have language that we can pursue it further, that what you are doing is completely in compliance with the Code of Ethics, Mike. A lot of counties actually have commissioners serve as voting members on their hospital boards, because it is such an important asset to a community and so much in line with what we are supposed to be doing in these jobs. So, he is a non-voting member, but he may serve as a voting member as long as he discloses, which he does.
That's not accurate, Commissioner.
You know, Cory, I'm gonna let you go ahead and argue that one out with the other attorneys. I've shared with you the emails, I've got letters. It is accurate. We are allowed to serve on boards as long as we disclose. That is in compliance with the Code of Ethics. And, yeah, I'll just get you the emails.
It doesn't matter
I'll
what
share
any
them
other
with Mike
lawyer
again,
says,
too.
I'm your county attorney, and Mako's wrong on this. It's very clear in statute. I've provided you at least 2 memos going through great detail on conflicts of interest. And you are prohibited by law, if you are an officer or a director of any entity that receives funds from the county, you can either be a member of that organization, or you can vote as a county commissioner on that item. You cannot do both. Now, my understanding is that Commissioner O'Dellinger is not a member of THS board.
Mhm.
When the issue came up, I advised him not to be a board member for the very reason I just expressed to you. I am concerned that he's listed as a non-voting member. He shouldn't be. He's not a member of your board. He's not ex officio, non-voting, anything. So you should take him off that, because that's not accurate. As a county commissioner, he can attend and do all the stuff that he's doing to gain information on public issues. But he cannot, if he were a board member of THS, he could not vote on the issue that's before you to be voted on right now. Just as I've advised you, Commissioner Overt, that if you're a board member of an organization, that you can't vote on that issue as a county commissioner. I don't care what Mako says, Mako's wrong, and if they tell you anything different, because I'm reading black letter law from statute. I didn't change the words at all. And
The
I've
flip side of
advised you of
that
that
is-
repeatedly. Say again?
The flip side of that is, and you sat in on such a meeting at Board of Crime Control, same thing. You can refrain from voting, abstain from voting in that other board to be able to vote on the commission.
Yeah, that's
So,
correct.
Yeah,
No, that's different though. Because in that, you are a public organizational board, which is different than a private organizational board. Because the Board of Crime Control is created by statute and is required to have members of those local government entities as members and representatives. And I understand your custom, as I've seen you do, is recuse yourself from a vote if it is specific to your county or your entity, and I'm assuming that's the custom that all those members follow. But that's a public entity created by statute requiring members of local government to be members, and some of them are not local government, they have other qualifications. But that's not the case here. But as I understand it, Commissioner Delger is not a board member of THS, because he and I have had that conversation. I have a question on the subject we're on, not that. How much money do we have in Pilt right now?
$758,000.
Yeah, roughly.
758,000, I believe, is what the, statement said that we got last.
And that was, how much of that was carryover from last year?
I don't know, Debbie, I think maybe 100,
All of it.
all of it?
That was last year's payment.
Well, that was last year's payment.
Yeah.
So we've been notified of this coming year's payment, but we haven't received it, is that
We
accurate?
received it.
This
We
year's.
received this June, 1st of June, or early part of June, Doug?
Are we built?
Yeah.
Yeah.
June 30th, I think, is when it came in. I don't have my chart, I thought I did. Oh, here it is. Here's Pilt for anyone who wants to see it.
So 758,000 is what we received on June 30th of 2018. And then so the amount carried over from 2017 that was unspent is how much?
We're pretty much at a wash. What we have are some of the things that we've already said are going to be paid with Pilt. So we're looking at a balance right now of about 400-ish. And what that is we pay our grant matches for public health from Pilt. We've agreed to pay for law enforcement needs, $9,500 for autopsies. Liability insurance is paid with Pilt. Food pantry, tree board, CASA advocates. Veterans burial, indigent burial, juvenile transport. We do put away money for a public safety vehicle. The 43-8 Memorial Fund for Mason Moore, that's $50,000 out of Pilt for the Sheriff's Department. We do have the floating mills to go to Fair Extension, all those floating mills for the repayment of $92,000. We have agreed to pay for involuntary commitments for district court from Pilt. And we're paying a little bit still on the intercap loan, $3,000. So we're sitting at about $400,000 with Pilt right now.
And so, because I understand that came in at the end of, well, it actually came in perfectly coincided with our budget year. So the amount, those payments that you just read are commitments that are in the budget.
In the budget, yes.
Pretty much annually.
So the vote you just took a minute ago for last year's levels, does it change any of those? It's, so 27, so I guess what I'm understanding is 2017 PILT money, it was all spent. Is that accurate?
Yes, pretty much. And I don't have that in front of me, but that's probably pretty accurate, give or take. But what we have right now is 768, 477, and then minus 377 would be about 400,000.
And what's the minus 377?
That's what I just read. So, yeah.
That total added up to
And it's
377.
right there on that report, for anybody that wants to see it.
So, does that include the $25 a month